Welcome back to the neighborhood. I'm Dylan, and today we'll be checking in on what might be the fiercest competition of the year. Yes, even above the Olympics, World Series, Stanley Cup, and Super Bowl. And that's our Fantasy Critic League. Stick around after this brief word from our sponsor, the Friendly Neighborhood Gamers. So if you're unfamiliar with what Fantasy Critic is, essentially, it is the video game version of fantasy football. At the beginning of the year, we got together with some of our friends and took turns drafting 6 games we thought would review well this year. Throughout the year, we each have 100 fake dollars to bid on games to fill out our roster of 12 games. We can drop up to 3 games before they release. For example, if news comes out that it has been delayed. Once a game comes out, we score points if it gets above a 70 on OpenCritic and lose points if it's below a 70. Games that score above a 90 give us some bonus points. To keep it interesting, we each have 2 counter picks, where we pick a game from someone else's list, locking it to their roster, and are rewarded points if it scores below a 70 and losing points if it reviews well. If you'd like a more in-depth explanation or want to watch the full draft we did, check out the linked video in the corner. Now that you know the rules, let's take a look at the standings. Currently in 6th, we have the team Depression Offline. Now they've only had a few games come out so far, so their early season has been mostly setting up the dominoes that should start falling here soon as we get into the late summer and fall. Their heavy hitter so far this season has been Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail, the highly anticipated expansion to the MMO that received an 84 on OpenCritic. We'll get to see over the next month whether their strategy has paid off as games like Black Myth Wukong and College Football 25 come out. In 5th, we have the team Definitely Not Peter Molyneux. They started out strong with Tekken 8. Now, established fighting games are a pretty tried and true draft pick, as long as they don't shake up the formula too much, and we saw that with Tekken 8, earning them 19 points. Unicorn Overlord was a bit of a dark horse in the league, with none of the competitors really knowing much about it, but it has performed exceptionally well, earning an 88 on OpenCritic. Not bad for a 4th round draft pick. There are some big question marks, as Avowed, Dragon Age the Veilguard, and Tales of the Shire don't have release dates yet, but could make or break some seasons since those have been counterpicked. Our next team is Extract Tandem Reciprocal, sitting in 4th. Their MVP so far has been Dragon's Dogma 2, netting them 17 points, though in speaking with the manager, he was expecting a bit more out of it. South Park Snow Day has been dragging the team down a little bit, ending up costing them 10 points. And since it was counterpicked, it boosted another team up. They did scoop up Astrobot, and they do have Star Wars Outlaws in the pipe, so if those end up reviewing well, we could see some big gains. They also grabbed Silksong, so if that game does actually exist and comes out this year, it could really shake the standings up. But I'm not really holding my breath, since that game has been drafted the past 3 years as well. Sorcerers of the Beach sits in 3rd. Their 1st round pick went to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, a game that pretty much everyone thought would perform well, and definitely lived up to those predictions, netting them 25 points. The Destiny 2 expansion, The Final Shape, that got picked up with a $1 bid right after the draft, also surpassed a 90 on OpenCritic, earning some bonus points, coming in at 22. The main thing that's been hurting this team was underestimating Animal Well, as being a niche game that would review in the 70s. Essentially, it's canceling out some of the performance by one of their other heavy hitters. In 2nd place, we have 2 Hardware, the winner of last year's league. Their round 1 pick, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, has performed well, earning them 19 points, and they've had a couple of other games in the 80s on OpenCritic. Most notably, Animal Well, a game that was counterpicked but also scored 19 points, which means someone else lost 19 points. A lot of their remaining roster comes out during the holiday season, including the 2 Nintendo games they bid on, Mario and Luigi Brothership and Super Mario Party Jamboree. Finally, in first, we have Millennium Falcon Punch. They picked up Shadow of the Erd Tree, currently the highest performing game in the league, earning them 27 points, nearly doubling its projections. They were a bit disappointed in Princess Peach Showtime, a game projected to review in the 80s that ended up coming in at a 74. A big PlayStation team, they picked up a lot of the upcoming Sony roster, though they are trying that Nintendo well again, spending a whopping $41 on The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. So those are the current standings, but it's still anybody's game. We're excited to see how the rest of the season shakes out, what sleeper hits come out of nowhere, and which counter picks make or break these teams. If you're interested in a much more in-depth check-in, take a look at the linked video where we all get together to talk about our rosters and hopes for the rest of the year. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving us a like or subscribing to get notified when new videos go live. If you have some suggestions for games that we should consider picking up, leave them in the comments. If you want to hear more from us, check out our podcast, Your Friendly Neighborhood Gamers, on your preferred podcasting platform. And with that, I'll leave you with a reminder to stay friendly, gamers.